What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is AzumangaDiohFan speaking, and I'm back with another commentary. Well, seeing as how I just got 200 subscribers, I felt like doing something special for you guys by commentating on a video I've always wanted to tackle for quite some time. That would be none other than the Nostalgia Critics review of Sailor Moon, which, before we start, I want to say this one thing. I know this review is past my 6-month cutoff date, but you know what? Seeing as how this is a special occasion, I might as well make an exception. So, with that said, let's go ahead and start, shall we?
Why was something as repetitive as Sailor Moon so successful?
Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight.
I remember when it first aired in America. It was an export from Japan, which I think was originally called Magical Girl Squad Robo Dance Yes. Not quite as familiar with anime as Americans are today, a lot of people just saw it as Speed Racer with tits. But we didn't understand that the audience for this was growing more and more rapid. And whether for its campiness or actual enjoyment of the story, it was becoming an underground hit.
Yeah, but didn't you say that Sailor Moon was extremely successful not too long ago, and now you're saying it was an underground hit? I don't know about you guys, but to me this seems a bit contradictory. I mean, did you even check your own script before recording the audio?
Yeah, look, Sho, even if you pretend you have a story that matters beyond people who see a high-class meal as a flamin' Hot Pocket, you still had to follow up all that supposed epicness with this.
Ah! Oh no, I'm late for school again!
Yeah, I bet you thought this was going to be a big space opera with action, drama, and exotic locations. But nope, it's just your common English-speaking town that has everything in Japanese for some reason.
But even if it was more like a space opera, you still would have been like, this show's a rip-off of Star Wars. It needs to be more original. Yeah.
Being pretty as sin and dumb as cheese, she of course is very popular in school.
Well, if you consider only having one friend in this situation being popular, then I guess you're all set.
Well, how's this for inspiration? You're a creep, Darian! You don't know a thing about being cool!
Wow, they really seem like polar opposites, and hate each other to the core. They hook up? Nah, and how tediously long do they drag that out? Oh Jesus, just mail me the comedic banter to my office, Shredder!
Yeah, about the romance. You see, it's contributing to build-up of a major plot point that happens later in the series, where Sailor Moon turns out to be Princess Serenity and starts to remember her past life as Princess of the Moon. Not only that, but Tuxedo Mask turns out to be Sailor Moon's prince and realizes that she was his actual true love.
By the way, here's a confusing scene. We see her walk by a poster of a young girl dressed exactly how she is dressed. Like it's from a movie or a show or something.
I wish I could be like Sailor V. She's so beautiful and smart. Something exciting's always happening in her life, not like mine.
So, what? A movie or TV industry got wind of this idea that coincidentally is exactly the same as what's going on right now?
Well, you see, that poster you mentioned there is obviously meant for Sailor Venus, who appears later in Season 1. Now, this would be one thing if he was just reviewing the first episode, but the title of the video implies that he's reviewing Sailor Moon as a whole.
Okay, so take out the fact that it's obviously in no way battle armor. Take out the fact that it's obviously fan service. Take out the fact that just like He-Man, somehow removing more clothes bizarrely disguises them. Though to be fair with both these outfits, is the face really the first thing you're going to be looking at? Take all that away and just tell yourself, this obviously sexualized transformation that takes up a solid minute in each episode happens to a 14-year-old girl. Now, before any of you find this incredibly creepy, let me make one thing perfectly clear. The age of consent in many parts of Japan is, in fact, 13 years old. Now you may find it incredibly creepy. And yes, there's a lot of fine print to that law that evens it out a bit, but there's just as much fine print that evens it back into kinky territory again. For example, sex between 13 to 17-year-olds can only be done with other 13 to 17-year-olds.
That's good.
However, that's only sex. Groping, handjobs, blowjobs, and whatever else your preferred imagination can come up with is all perfectly legal.
That's bad.
However, they have cracked down on human trafficking, forced prostitution, and other illegal acts endangering people in that age range.
That's good.
But that doesn't stop people from creating kinky establishments like the Sexual Harassment Corporation, where you pay to molest girls in school and business sets and is totally 100% legal.
Can I go now?
But, of course, all this talk about Sailor Moon being a sexy 14-year-old pinup is all building up to one important question. Given this information, why did I still put her in the top 11 hottest anime women list? I didn't know! I swear I didn't know! I mean, look at the way they're drawn, man! I thought they were in college or at the very least late high school. Wouldn't you have made that guess? Come on, look at the way they're showing them off! I swear, officer, I mean audience, I had no idea their real age.
Because this doesn't seem like an effort to make yourself feel better about that selection on the list at all. And also, nice move stretching this part out as much as friggin' possible. Oh, and if you think that's weird and questionable, then I suggest checking out Chibaza, aka Sailor Mini-Moon.
Magic Tiara isn't her only enchanted device, though. She also has a pen that can change her into anything. Wait, what?
It's a very powerful transforming tool. It turns you into whatever you want.
Well, then what the fuck is she using that tiara for? I mean, they didn't give any limitations or anything. They said she can change into fucking anything she wants. Hey, why doesn't she just turn around and be like,
Take on the form of Godzilla!
series over, 6 seasons spared!
Now, this could be a legit point if Luna didn't say this right after that line.
Say disguise power and then tell it what transformation you want.
And this was in the span of 10 seconds, so how Doug missed that line, I have no clue. And speaking of that, the reason that she disguises herself with a pen is because when she goes into certain places, she'll need to be in disguise in order to gain access inside to investigate.
Actually, things got kind of interesting with her character, seeing how Uranus and Neptune were cousins in the show, but not in the Japanese version. No, in the Japanese version, they were a couple. That's right, straight up lesbians.
You know, it's funny. Aside from the
Like
part
his
where he
point with
talked
Star
about the
Wars
intro
stuff.
and this part, not once did he bring up any other changes that the American version did to the original, such as changing most of the original names to American names, replacing death with the Negaverse, the list goes on. So, with that said, if he can talk about those two changes, why not do the same with the others?
Come on, guys, maybe you could have worked it into your half-assed PSAs at the end.
Leaving in
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, there's PSAs in this show. Obviously slapped on at the end of each episode using the same animation they used before. Because Lord knows, the show hasn't repeated enough animation already.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame the anime itself for these segments, because if you watch the original Japanese version, you would know that those segments are not at the end of each episode. I mean, if anything, you should be blaming the company who originally dubbed this series for these segments.
Why did this work? Perhaps like a lot of other formulas, it knew what to keep familiar and what to keep changing up. It knew it was going to have a villain, but it changed up what kind of villain. It knew it had to involve an interest or product that girls wanted to be involved with, so it had a different one each episode. There was always peril that the girls had to get out of so that you'd feel great by the end when they finally do. Keeping the formula exactly the same, but changing up just the right elements that needed to be changed.
I'm sorry, but why did you wait until the last few minutes to start talking about why the formula worked and why it was so successful? I mean, shouldn't you have been doing that throughout the duration of this review? And if that's the case, why was the last 20 minutes tacked on anyway? You know, I could basically take this part of the review and splice it with the beginning, and not a whole lot would have changed. Well, folks, now that the video's over, it's time to give my final thoughts. Well, to be honest, I really don't mind Doug's new reviews that much, and I even find myself liking a couple of them, such as his Les Miserables and Alice in Wonderland review. But even with the newer reviews in mind, this is still the weakest of the bunch, and from my perspective, this has got to be one of the worst, if not the worst Nostalgia Critic review I've seen by far. Why? Because throughout a good majority of the review, he didn't really do what he said he was going to do. Explain why the formula worked and why it was so successful. And not to mention that there's a ton of cultural references that he missed. And also, he never talked about how the show had a huge impact on animation in the US, and in Japan for that matter, and how it had a bigger impact on anime culture than Speed Racer and Voltron. Look, I understand that he's going at this show from an outsider's perspective, which I wouldn't mind so much, but in this review, it just backfires dramatically. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. So, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been AzumangaDiohFan signing out.